Welcome into Jets Nation Radio. I'm Goose, joined by Ray Howe. As always, we took a couple weeks off, but we are A-OK and ready to roll. The Jets is currently sitting third in the Central Division. That's pretty darn cool. We're at American Thanksgiving, and usually, if you are in a playoff spot at American Thanksgiving, you have a 77% chance of making the playoffs. So, Ray, how do the Jets avoid falling into the same trap as years prior?
I think the Jets just need to stay consistent. Like we saw this last year where they had a really hot start. They were like Bowness was almost a coach for the All-Star game at one point too. So I think having a consistent season where they don't have a really good fall and then completely fall off in the springtime, I would really like to see just a consistent game over game, month over month, because if we have that same drop that we did in like the March, February area where we lose a bunch of games, there isn't a lot of consistency in a lot of people's games, then I think that there's the reason for concern there. And I think that the Jets are a different team than they were last year. There's a lot more depth on this team. And I feel like there's a whole different mentality because with the substitution from Wheeler and Dubois to Velarde, Iafallo, and Kupari, I think there's just a lot more people that you can rely on, and the team as a whole, like I feel like this team has the best depth at the positions everywhere since that 2018 Western Conference run.
Oh yeah. The consistency is going to be huge, but we're already starting to see that inconsistency with the team. We saw that against Buffalo last week. We saw I would say a fairly inconsistent game against Tampa Bay the other night as well. Uh, are you worried like myself about that inconsistency coming in, or am I just reading too close between the lines?
I wouldn't be too concerned. I get and I understand that there is that concern with consistency because we had a whole season last year where the same issues were there. But I think this year it's a different year, a new team, and I feel like there's less reason for concern because you've seen what Scott Arniel was able to do without Bonus in the room, and a lot of players were playing really high levels of hockey. You see Kyle Connor, the goals he's being put up. You see the passion from Mark Scheifele. Like Mark Scheifele and Ehlers having fights within the first 20 games. I'm not sure how many people would have that on their bingo card. So I think that the passion is there, and that's the most important thing that they're sticking up for each other. There isn't a single player that's not engaged. Everyone knows their roles. And I think it's just finding maybe swapping around the lines a little bit, especially once Velarde returns. So I feel like it's going to be interesting to see how they are able to adapt when they go through these injuries, but also how they return from these injuries.
Yeah, that's going to be the big one that what is Gabriel Velarde going to look like when he returns to the lineup? I know that you and I have debated it several times on where Velarde should be. Um, I'm still all in on him going to the second line, maybe starting on the wing for a little bit, get Perfetti some time at centerman position, and then swap him once Velarde's kind of got his legs under him.
Yeah, the only reason why I don't like that is you have Ehlers on the fourth line. So,
I see, and I would put Nemestikov on the fourth line. I think
oh.
Ehlers, like I know the last time we talked about this, I was very disappointed in Nikolai Ehlers, but he's found his game. I mean, that second line has kind of found their game, but it feels like it's Perfetti that's driving that line for the first time ever in his young career. I mean, and I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on young Cole Perfetti at this point?
I don't think that there's enough that can be said about Cole Perfetti. Like he had that goal scoring streak, he had point streaks, and he's only a 21-year-old player. Like this guy is someone that a lot of people saw the skill upside, the IQ upside, but no one really saw him as like a first line bona fide center in the NHL. They mostly saw him as like a winger on like a second line or a second line center. And look at what he's already doing in that role right now with the limited minutes because they're giving him limited minutes because of the injury and the workload of being a second line center. And you see what he's able to do with like only like 13 minutes on ice. Like Adam Lowry in that third line is getting more minutes than Cole Perfetti, and Cole Perfetti is still getting this wild success. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the Cole Perfetti we have when he's playing 17 plus minutes a night.
Well, like we're actually starting to see him pick up those bigger minutes in his play. Just trying to pull up the stat on ice time. So in the last 5 games, the last game he had 17 minutes. The game before that, 14 minutes, 13 minutes, 13 minutes, and 14 minutes. So like he's definitely getting that ice time. He's not the 11-minute player that we have seen, but um, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of him the other night against Tampa Bay. Like he was showing off there for sure. Um, Still does need to work on the face-off, which is the big part of being a centerman. I know the play on the ice is very important, but if you're averaging 33% in the face-off dot, it's not going well for you.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes into one of the questions that you posed to me the other day is if the Jets should be looking at trading for a player. And I feel like trading for a pretty good second line center or a top right D or even both would be if the Jets really want to compete this year and really go for a run. I feel like that second line center position may need to be shored up a little bit just because Nemesnikov and Perfetti haven't been real strong on the faceoffs, and you really want someone that can win you those faceoffs, get you some possession, and I feel like that's going to be something that the Jets should look into as well.
Do you think now is the time to be willing to move on from some of the futures that the Jets have really put in? Because like you only have 1 or 2 shots to really win the cup, and if the Jets are feeling it this year, if Connor Hellebuck's save percentage like actually crosses over the 900 save percentage, I know it's 900 on the dot right now, but would you be willing to risk a first rounder? I know Colby Barlow was just drafted, but a Colby Barlow, a Rutger McGroarty, a long list of guys.
I think I'd be willing to trade away like one of them, maybe two of them, if you include Billy Heinola in that situation. I know that he got injured and he was looking like a real stud, but again, like the Jets window is like right now, like Shifley and Hellebuck are right in the middle of their prime. They're not at the 36, 37. They're 31 right now or 30. So winning now while you have the cap space and you have the players that are young, like Velarde, you have Morrissey playing at an elite level. Like, I feel like you should be willing to trade away some of those players. But again, like, I really wouldn't want to see the Jets trade the three main prospects in my eyes and Lambert, McGroarty, and Barlow. Like, I think those three guys are key forwards going forward for your team, and they all provide a little bit different style of play as well. You got Barlow, who's a really great sniper, McGroarty, who does everything, and you got Lambert with the speed and transition he has. And I'll get into detail on those three guys later as well. But I think that one guy you would kind of look to move, even though it's all a little bit unfortunate, is Chaz Lucius.
That's your sacrificial lamb if that's the first guy
Yeah.
you're like, hey, because like I look at Calgary and I think that they have some of the key pieces that the Jets need, especially on that back end. A Chris Tanev is someone that I'm like, ooh. But
Chris
at
Tanev
the
and
same time,
Lindholm.
Chris Tanev would also just replace Brendan Dillon. So I don't know if that really helps the Jets that much further. So might have to start doing some digging on right shot defensemen that could be traded before, well, hopefully before February.
Yeah. Yeah, Calgary seems to have a lot of pieces that the Jets could use going forward, even in the center position as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Calgary addresses their team needs and how they approach the deadline coming up.
Well, the cupboards are right full right now. And I talked about it at jetsnation.ca. The Jets need to go make those trades because the pieces are there. You have the opportunity to go be a championship team. And if you're not going to take it, then, have fun winning one round if you're lucky. And then, sitting with a 20th overall draft pick that may or may not turn out. But, the Jets have a pretty good track record of drafting some studs. Also, should probably shout out our good friends at Betway. If you're looking for some fancy bets, you live in Ontario, you're 19 plus, you're willing to play responsibly, go check out Betway. I got some odds on the Jets tonight as they take on the Florida Panthers. And also, great news for Jets fans. Rick Bowness returning after about a month of being gone, taking care of his wife, Judy. So very happy to see that Rick Bowness is back. How do you feel about that overall?
I think it's going to be really positive because, again, like Bonus has been out probably longer than some people might have expected at first because of what happened. But again, like Scott Arniel has been a great coach in the interim where the Jets have really been able to not really sway from their game and still win games. Like they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. And when people see Bones back into the locker room, it's gonna give them a boost. It's gonna bring the family back together. It's gonna be like that grandpa that comes home for Christmas dinner. Like it just brings the whole family together, and I think it's gonna give everyone a boost to play even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know I'm just like looking at the schedule ahead. I'm like, I think that the Jets could genuinely go on like a 6-7 game run right now. Because you got tonight the Florida Panthers. You want to beat Paul Maurice. You want to kick Matthew Kachuk's ass. You want to press your head coach who's back. I mean, Scott Arniel, what a stud. But I'll ask you more about that in a second. But yeah, it's just like everything's working out well. And the team uses the term family a lot. We act like a family. And generally, when you hear that from an employer, you're just like, oh my God, I need to get the hell out of here immediately because these guys are going to ruin my life. But genuinely, that is a room full of boys that are excited to work with each other. But do you think, like with Rick Bowness's contract, the way that it's structured, do you see him back for a third year next year, or do you think that the club and him part ways?
I think it's going to be entirely dependent on the success that the team faces in the playoffs. Like if Bonus is able to bring them to, I'd say, past the second round, I'd say there's a good chance that they keep him just based on what he was able to bring to that team and how he was able to coach them into a Western Conference run or to the Stanley Cup. But if he say a repeat of last year where we maybe have some struggles in the new year and we struggle going into the playoffs and in the playoffs we maybe squeak by in the first round or we lose in the first round and then a quick exit in the second round, I think that they may still keep him around just because of that family mentality and they want to keep him there. But again, it may be best if they do have a lackluster performance in the playoffs to maybe go with the reins in Scott Arniel.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel comfortable going with Scott Arniel? I mean, he's got a good but small track record with the Jets so far.
Yeah, and I think that even though he may be unexperienced as being a head coach at the NHL level, like you look at what the Jets have been able to do with Bonus out this period of time, and the Jets haven't skipped a beat. Like the Jets are still playing well, and I'd say that they've played even better without Bonus there in a way where they were able to draw off the energy of Bonus being away, and it made them better. So without Bonus there, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It's not like head coaches are the be all end all of an NHL season or NHL team's chance at winning a cup. But I feel like Bonus being gone wouldn't be the worst thing for the Jets going forward, and you get to see what Scott Arniel can do over a full regular season.
Yeah. Oh, and I am very excited for that day, whether it's next year or the year after. I genuinely think that unless things go horribly wrong, we're going to see Scott Arniel as the bench boss within the next couple of years. Uh, so we're at American Thanksgiving, about a quarter to a fifth of the way through the season. Who's been the most surprising player or line to you?
I'm gonna call out two players that I've been pretty disappointed with this year, and that's Dylan Sandberg and Nate Schmidt. I feel like both of them haven't really been what they were last year. Last year, Dylan Sandberg played really well defensively, was really stable defensively, and just he was just a really great all-around defenseman where you could see this kind of guy where he would be the next replacement to Brendan Dillon. And with Nate Schmidt, like again, he was last year, he was a really good mentor and provided a really good amount of stability for Sandberg and whoever he was playing with. And this year, I haven't seen many of those qualities, and I'm starting to question if the defense on that back end at the third pair is stable enough. I know that Sandberg had a really good uh stint at the beginning of the year where I think he may have been the last remaining player to not be scored on 5-on-5, which would show you that it's pretty good. But there's some plays where I'm looking at Sandberg and Schmidt, and I feel like they panic a little too much. They force plays up the boards where the player might not be open. And I feel like these two guys, they have the capabilities of being a really good shutdown bottom pair. And I think they really need to find their game to be able to provide that going forward into the season.
Interesting. That's interesting that you're calling out those two guys because, like, I've got the money puck stats in front of me because we all love money puck. But in their 15 games together, they've got an expected goal percentage of 50.7 and an expected goals against of 3.6 and expected goals for of 3.7. So it's not sexy numbers by any means for those two. But like I personally think that although Sandberg's having a definite sophomore slump, they are playing just well enough to get by. They're not like if those are your two guys going into the Stanley Cup playoffs, yikes indeed. But like Nate Schmidt needs to be traded to an Edmonton Oilers. Well, actually not the Oilers, but to a team that really needs a hype man behind them. I think we've talked about this a couple of times where he's a great room guy and could help a team like in Arizona, Calgary Flames, anyone that's really struggling. If that contract wasn't so ugly, there would be that. And I mean, again, Sandberg, sophomore slump, it happens to just about every player in the NHL. So I'm making excuses for those guys. But who's been surprising in the good way for you?
I think the one player that, like, again, it's an easy choice here. Yeah, I want to say Kyle Connor, but I kind of expected him to have a season like this. It has to be Cole Perfetti. Like he's been like he started at center where maybe he had a little bit of disappointment and got moved to wing, but look at what he's been able to do so far. Like he's putting up points, he's scoring goals, and I think the goal scoring is the best part of what I've been able to see is when you think of Cole Perfetti, you're thinking of really smart passing, really smart kind of IQ hockey sense. But now I think he's kind of learned from passing too much. I feel like someone that had this happen was Mitch Marner in Toronto, where he's always looking for that perfect pass, being like making really smart plays when they should really just shoot the puck on net and see what happens. And I think that Cole Perfetti at this young age is learning that the shot can be really good as well, and he's being rewarded for it. So I think that's one guy going forward. And if he's doing this at 21, it's going to be really interesting to see what he brings to the Jets for the near future.
Oh, yeah, that guy's going to be an absolute stud. I mean, he's got 15 points in 18 games already, 6 goals, 9 assists. You can't be sad about a 21-year-old doing all of that. It's almost his birthday, too, so he's going to be 22 right away. But yeah, he's a key piece of this Jets future, and I'm very excited about Cole Perfetti and what he can do. For me, yeah, Sandberg has been kind of my disappointing player. I guess surprise. It's not a surprise. I figured he was going to be about this way. But who's been disappointing me the most is Connor Hellebuck. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but he's only got a 900 save percentage. I don't know if it was just the contract signing kind of spooked him or what's been going on. There's lots of very few shots going to Connor Hellebuck, and those are sneaking by. It's not a lot of them. I'm going to be like, oh, that's on Connor Hellebuck. But seeing those numbers, although the Jets are getting wins, I'm a little bit concerned because like you need to be better than 900 there, pal. Same with LB. Just like, come on, guys, you can do it. But my player that is doing incredibly well, Mark Scheifele, just his start to the season has been unbelievable. Goals, fight, I don't know. And just watching him back check. He did this to start last season. He eventually stopped doing it. And that's kind of where I'm like, if Mark Scheifele stops doing that altogether, we're screwed. We're done. We're dead in the water once again. But if Mark Scheifele wants to play that defensive game, you can see it out of Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers. So if Mark Scheifele carries on with that, I think we're all good. So yeah, Mark Scheifele has been my real shocking player to start this season.
Yeah, and just one note on the goalies too. Like we're we're tied for second in the Central right now, and that's with Connor Hellebuck at a 900 save percentage. And you got to think that like the goalies can't stay at this low of a save percentage of goals against for this long. Like Hellebuck has always been near the top of the Vezina conversation, so it's gonna be really interesting to see how Hellebuck kind of rebounds. Like he has the record that shows that he should be doing pretty well. So if he starts stringing along games where he's getting like 930 save percentage plus, like I think the Jets can be a really scary team when all the components of the team are all firing all at once.
Oh, absolutely. And like the team's going to be doing that soon enough. And also like the penalty kill is going to turn around here. It's only at 73%. Like that's not the Jets team that we know from last year. The power play is only 19%. That's an ugly, ugly stat. Uh, those numbers, they're going to turn around for this team sooner rather than later. So if we can get all of those components just humming, because 5-on-5, there is nothing to worry about this team. So yeah, the day that this stuff gets turned around, you watch out for the Winnipeg Jets, and I'll even call it now. If the Jets can figure this out, I think that they will be a number one. They will be the top team in the Central Division and get past the Dallas Stars. So there's my big prediction for you. Kyle Connor, he's leading this NHL in scoring with 14, tied with Austin Matthews. Those Americans are looking good these days. I've got two questions for you. One, do you think that the Americans can beat Canada if we were to go into an international tournament today?
I don't think that they would be able to win. I know that Canada and the US are pretty evenly spread out, but I think that when you have to go up against three of the best Canadian forwards in McDavid, McKinnon, and Crosby, I think just being able to contain all of them, and I feel like the defense on Canada is really strong too with Makar as well. So I think that Canada, albeit they may not have a strong goaltending compared to a Hellebuck or a Jake Ottinger, I think that Canada's definitely got a better team, but the margin between them isn't as big as maybe it once was.
Oh, see, I'm going against every natural instinct in my body. I think that the Americans would absolutely dummy the Canadians. Yeah, we got Crosby, McDavid, and McKinnon. Those are three studly forwards. I mean, like Mark Scheifele wouldn't even make that team, and that guy is still phenomenal. So I don't know. I just think that the lack of Canadian goaltending at this point, and you have two of the best scorers, like that would be a 6-2 game. That's just my bet if Canada were to take on the US right now. So yeah, you silly Americans and your great goaltending. Ridiculous. Oh, I forgot that we have got Connor Bedard, so maybe we got a chance. uh talked about that. We've talked about that, but we got to talk about our prospects because we have not had a prospect update. I don't think ever with you, and that's why I really brought you on. So, I gave you a big long list of guys to talk about. Let's start with your guy, Brad Lambert.
Yeah, so Lambert, he's been doing really well. Like I looked at the comparison between last year and this year because he's actually played the same amount of games as he has last year. He's played 14 games up to this year, and he played 14 games last year. And I think that just that confidence, like going to the minors, building up confidence against a younger age group, I think really showed him how to play at the next level. Last year, he only had 3 points in 14 games and was a -9. Now he has 13 points in 14 games and is an even zero. And he's playing center. He's being able to use his speed, and he's getting like really good opportunities on the power play as well. So I think Lambert is really progressing well. I think that he may need one more year in the AHL to really dominate the AHL, be a dominating force down there before he's ready to be put into a position to succeed in the NHL. Because after this year, he may be ready for the NHL, but he may not be put in a situation like you don't want him playing on the fourth line, playing 7 minutes a night because he wouldn't really succeed in that type of position. So I think that's one thing that Cheveldayoff is really good at is knowing that the players need to be put into a situation at the right time and at the right role so they can succeed.
Nice. Rutger McGroarty. He took a terrible tumble there last Friday. Ended up in the hospital. So yeah, tell us more about Rutger McGroarty.
Yeah, so per Brandon Naruto, that I found on Twitter here is that McGroarty's actually going to be out for the first half of Michigan season now, and it's hopeful that he may be healthy by the time of the World Juniors. So it's going to be interesting to see if what he's dealing with. Again, like he took a tumble, really looked like he fell on his tailbone there. So those injuries can be really scary sometimes. I know that those injuries aren't fun and can be lengthy injuries. So but he was dominating the NCAA before that injury. Like he was leading the NCAA in points at multiple occurrences, and I think he got first star of like the week of what the NCAA does, and he had 18 points in 13 games. Like he's been really lights out, and this is a team that lost Adam Fantilli. Like last year, he was playing a game, but he had an Adam Fantilli there to play with, and I feel like an overall stronger Michigan team. And I think that he's really stepped up on a leadership role, but also providing some of that scoring that was lost in a major key player in Adam Fantilli.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is great to see that, prior to the injury, he was playing a solid game. And I would love to see him play for Team USA come, world champ or world juniors. But don't be too good there, buddy. Dom DiVincentis, we have been in love with this guy for the last year and a bit now. We think that he could be the guy that, ends up stealing the job from Milic. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, so he's actually been dealing with an injury himself as well. He's had a lower body injury for a little bit, but he's really close to returning. And I think that he's kind of having a sophomore slump a little bit as well from that OHL goalie of the year. So it'll be interesting to see once he's healthy what he returns to. I'm pretty sure North Bay isn't as strong of a juggernaut team as they were year prior, but it's going to be interesting to see how Dom DiVincentis deals with that adversity of an injury and maybe a team that wasn't as strong and be able to maybe take on more of a load and responsibility in bringing this team to the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how he progresses, and it's going to be a real interesting battle between Milic and Dom DiVincentis for getting minutes at the next level.
Yeah, but didn't DiVincentis already win like a goaltender of the week in the OHL this year?
I did not see that. I know
Okay.
that he hasn't like he may have got it in like the first week or so. Like he was really good in that first week, but then kind of got piled on a couple times and has a below 900 save percentage at the time that we're recording this. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've just got the stats in front of me. So in 12 games, he's got 39 goals against. Oof, that's rough. Uh, and yeah, he's got a 3.41 goals against average and an 880 save percentage. So yeah, bit of a step back for Dom DiVincentis, but sophomore slump. Who's got time to worry about that nonsense? Let's go to our other goaltender, Thomas Milic. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so Milic has actually been pretty good in his pro career. Like this is someone that just came out of junior, was a he was a 20-year-old in junior. He was a world junior goalie, world junior champion, and now getting playing mostly in the ECHL has been doing pretty well. But he actually got called up to the Moose for a couple games there, and he didn't really look out of place. Like he looked pretty on par with the other Moose goalies, but again, the other Moose goalies have kind of had their struggles this year. One note I had was that he actually leads the Moose in save percentage at the time that we're recording this. But then after that stint of him playing in the AHL, he gets sent down, and what does he do? He gets a shutout. Like this guy is an absolute gamer. He's he battles so hard in the net. He may not be the biggest presence in the net, but he's gonna play every single game to his end all. So I think this guy is gonna be really good, and I feel like it wouldn't be outrageous to say that he could be the starter for the Moose even into next season.
Ooh, starter for the Moose next season. I like those high accolades already. Let's just go through his numbers real quick. In the ECHL, 7 games, 1 assist. So good on him. He's got 13 goals against, 2 shutouts, and a 2 goals against average, 2 on the dot, and a 918 save percentage. With the Manitoba Moose in 4 games, 13 goals against, not ideal, but a 374 goals against and an 877 save percentage. So yeah, doing real good down in the ECHL. And goalies take forever to develop. Like that's a long game. We still got another few years. So, maybe by the time LB's actually out of Winnipeg, Milic will be the guy. So a few more years for him. Chibrikov.
Yeah, so Chibrikov is actually the prospect that has like just exceeded every expectation on him at this point. Like I feel like he's the one prospect that is like the most NHL ready, and I feel like he's actually one of the Jets prospects that actually could succeed in that bottom six role. Like I feel like if he played on a third line or a fourth line, he would still be able to bring a lot of his strengths to the team. And like I feel like the shooting and passing and IQ combo of what Chibrikov brings has just been really exceptional to this point. Like when you think of Chibrikov, I feel like you think of a really great passer, but this year he's been shooting the puck a lot. He's been passing. He's just been doing everything offensively, and he's just been noticeable in every aspect. He's leading the Boost in points right now with 16 and 14 games, and he's leading the team in goals and assists. So I don't think you lead the league or lead the Moose in goals and assists in your first season if you're not a really good prospect and have that really high ceiling. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what he goes and if he plays like this for a whole season, how quickly he makes it to the NHL.
Yeah. Well, and like you look at some of the stuff that you look at his size, he's 5'9" and 160 pounds. He's a small dude by every single metric, but he was playing with St. Petersburg SKA in the KHL. Like wasn't doing big numbers, but just to even play your 50-ish games down there, what a guy. Like you can't just show up to the KHL, be that small and succeed. So yeah, I'm all in on the small guy. And man, that's the one thing that's bothered me a lot this season with comments of oh, Perfetti's too small. Well, look at what that kid's doing. Someone was like, Rasmus Kapari is too small. That guy's 6'2" and 200 pounds. I just get a giggle out of that. So yeah, I don't think there is such thing as too small in the NHL. Obviously, Kapari's not small by any means. It's just someone being ignorant. But yeah, small players, although they do get hurt, they are some of the most tenacious out there. And I'm very excited to see a small Russian player play with the Winnipeg Jets within the next couple of seasons. And finally, let's get to Chaz Lucius, the guy that you're willing to trade.
Yeah, so Lucius again has dealt with an injury this year. He really can't catch a break. Like he's had so many years where he's lost time due to these injuries, but he's back now, so that's a real positive thing. And he's returned and he has 6 points in 8 games. Like he's not playing bad at the NHL or at that AHL level. One thing I'm a little bit disappointed in is he only has one goal. Like when the Jets drafted him, like he was seen as a really good goal scorer, like kind of like almost like a Kyle Connor in a sense, with being able to score from all areas and really use his shots at his advantage. And I don't think we've really seen that yet at the AHL level. But again, he's playing better than he did last year in the AHL, so there's positive build on there. Um, and yeah, I feel like he's just not making the impact that he could be. Like you look at Chibrikov, you look at Lambert, like these guys were picked in the Chibrikov in the same draft as Lucius and Brad Lambert in the draft after. And I feel like these people are having an impact that is more than Chaz Lucius. And I feel like Chaz Lucius is almost just being left behind in the prospect pyramid due to the fact of just his injuries and his goal scoring consistency.
Wow. I appreciate all the info on our big prospects there. We're going to have to do this on a more regular basis because I like to know what's going on with these guys. And well, I've told you 100 times, you're smart as a whip when it comes to this stuff. So I appreciate all of that. I'm sure everyone listening appreciates that as well. We've got 4 games between now and probably when we talk next. Actually, well, yeah, I'll say 4. So we got the Panthers, the Preds, the Stars, and the Oily Boys. I'd said I think the Jets are gonna go on some stupid long streak here. Over the next 4 games, what is your prediction on this team?
I think they're gonna go 3-1. I think they
Ooh.
are gonna beat the Panthers. I think they may lose to Nashville. I think Nashville had a really good team when they played them, and I felt like they had a really close game. I think the Jets are also gonna get the revenge on the Stars. I know it's a really close game. came down to the final seconds on that game, but I think the Jets are gonna pull it out. And I think I'm gonna predict an overtime game against the Oilers.
Ooh. Dang, you're putting that much faith into the Edmonton Oilers.
Well, it was an overtime game last time against the Oilers as well.
Yeah, but that was when the Oilers had a little bit of confidence. So what do they got now? McDavid crying in the penalty box because he accidentally cross-checks a guy. Oh, sorry. This is my dad, just a hardcore Oilers fan, and I love chirping him about it. And he's just like, I can't believe I'm still watching this team do the exact same shit that I have watched them do since 2007. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason I sold out their homeboy. So, like, if you want to, if you're an Oilers fan, you want to get away from the Jets or from the Oilers, come to the Jets. We're a far more fun team. The building's a little bit more electric, and tickets, they're a little bit cheaper these days because we can't sell out our stupid arena, even though the Jets are doing fantastic right now. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I think the Jets are going to lose to the Preds for just whatever reason. I've got that feeling in my heart, and I've already put a bet down. I would put a bet down through Betway, but unfortunately, we don't have that privilege here in Manitoba. So if you're in Ontario, make a bet for me. Go bet on the Predators to beat the Winnipeg Jets on Sunday. And, bet on the Jets to win against the Panthers tonight. Put a bet on the Jets to beat both the Oilers and the Stars. I think it's going to be an overtime victory against the Stars. That's my only call. And then I genuinely, I'm trying to get tickets to the game against the Oilers, and I think that the Jets are going to absolutely destroy that team. I think it's going to be like a 6-1 blowout. So that's my big call. Am I worried about the Jets moving forward? Not at all. I think this is the team that's going to do it. And yeah, go get our players there. Kevin Cheveldayoff. I want some success. I want more success. Ray, how can we find you on the internet?
Yeah, so you can find me at ray.how on Instagram. And if you have any questions or you want us to look into a specific prospect or maybe even a trade, we can give us a shout and we can get looking into that for you.
Hell yeah, give us your trades. I love doing trades and then absolutely dunking on them later on. So yeah, impress us with your trade predictions. Impress us with some of your questions because we do like to hear from you guys. If you're like, hey, where's the t-shirts that you guys were going to do? I got yelled at for that because they would have been bootleg Jets Nation merch, and we can't have that with the Nation Network. So we're patiently working once again with the Nation Network to get our t-shirts. Maybe this is the year that we can get our t-shirts. So if Oilers Nation is listening, give us our damn t-shirts because I want some Jets Nation logos on this stupid podcast. So yeah, we're waiting patiently on that. They will come. I will bully the heck out of Oilers Nation until they give us our Jets Nation gear. But go check out nationgear.com. They're doing a Black Friday sale. So if you're a fan of the Canucks, the Leafs, the Oilers, or the Flames, they've got some beautiful merch on sale for right now. Go check all of that stuff out. Check out jetsnation.ca. Give us a follow on all of our platforms and make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast. Share it with some friends and family. And have yourself a fantastic Black Friday if you are down in the States. Stay safe, my friends, and go Jets, go. I've been Goose.
Go Jets, go.
Go Jets, go.